You're most welcome once again to Smart 24 Television. This is the business edition where we're going to make a look at the stories that made the headlines in our weekly bulletin. Among the stories we're going to look at is the NSSF sack, where most of the MPs left Parliament in protest, and also the approval of the East African crude oil pipeline license that's going to happen here in Uganda. And more of the stories will be coming up when you're away. Stay around. We'll be going in for just a short commercial break, and when I come back, all stories I'll be starting. You're most welcome once again at the business edition here at Smart 24 Television. We're now going to look at the Parliament. Over the weekend, there was drama at the Parliament of Uganda, where the Committee on Finance traded insults over the circumstances that are happening at the National Social Security Fund because of the corruption allegations that are happening there. Let us have a look at what is happening.
Honorable Betty Amongi knows.
The committee, which began with the presentation of the Deputy Managing Director, Patrick Ayota, who is now the Acting Manager Director of NSSF, asked whether people's money is safe given that the institution is suffering certain management issues.
But most important, and I know you know what's at the back of our mind, are our funds safe with NSSF? Now, one thing which has increased our anxiety, the Umeme, I think Cabinet has decided that they would not be renewing Umeme's concession. In response to the committee's questions, Mr. Ayota told the MPs that people's money is very safe and that they need not worry about anything. Ayota further notes that the fund has performed excellently and that last year alone, savings totaled to more than 1.4 trillion shillings.
You can see it was increasing steadily up to 2019. When COVID hit, the numbers kind of declined a little bit. What surprised us is the decline was not as massive as we thought it was going to be. Even when we provided waivers, I think the next slide is the one that you have. Even when we provided waivers, members came back and paid. Because what members in Uganda have actually known, the reason why NSF is such of an interest company, because people know that the money the fund has is theirs.
However, the Utambala MP, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, cautioned the committee to go through the letter that was written by the Gender Minister, Honorable Betty Amongi, over the corruption surrounding this institution.
And with me is a letter that was written on 7th December 2002 by the minister just there, 2022. By the minister there, who is supervising you, detailing how horrible the situation is in NSSF, from declining members to gross corruption, gross incompetence. If you permit me, Chair, and the minister, if you permit me, Chair, it's not the question of the minister, the letter I have, I would lay it on table. We also go through it so that we get a true picture of what this gentleman, the MD, with due respect, is telling this committee. Minister Betty Amongi denied the letter before the committee and told members that she does not know the source of the letter in question.
Letter being alluded to, I don't know the source. I have not seen it. And when we were invited in this committee, a letter was written by this committee for us to come and present the microeconomic issues. The purpose of the meeting is to present on the fund's trend in the growth of membership. The committee asked Honorable Chivumbi to give it time to investigate this letter, something which declined and walked out of the committee in protest.
With due respect, I've never done this in my political life. I've been here, but I beg to leave this meeting in protest. So it highlights a very, very big doubts in the NSS of incompetence, failure to invest wisely, and they are losing billions of money. The leaders in there are corrupt. So it speaks volumes. So how can they be in a meeting that is discussing the wrong things?
The chair to the committee, Honorable Kefa Chiwanuka, stressed out that they have not refused to discuss the letter, only that they needed time to bring it to the attention of the minister.
I did not refuse to discuss the letter brought by Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi. I did not. I think Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi should also have been fair to tell me that there is a letter I have, and I'm going to introduce it in the meeting. The letter is 20 pages, and the Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi introduces it in the meeting, and he wants the meeting to discuss the letter there and then.
The Minister of Labour, Social and Economic Development, Honorable Betty Amongi, recently refused to renew Byargaba's contract as NSSF's managing director, saying she received allegations of corruption against this institution's top leadership and gave a green light to the reappointment of the NSSF's deputy managing director, Patrick Ayota. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Yeah, on that very story, Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi, the Butambala MP, left the committee on protest over the letter that he thinks was written by the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi. What he thinks explains what is happening at the National Social Security Fund. But now because of that, because the House was not satisfied with what happened over there, again, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mwong, directed the two ministries of Finance, Gender, Labour and Social Development to come back and appear before Parliament to clarify on this. And again, our reporter was around to give us what happened there. Though what they said was not satisfying, but still, we had to listen to what happened over there. Let's have a look again at this very story that came up from the Parliament about the NSSF SAG once again.
Speaker Anita Among yesterday directed that the two ministers, that is Gender and Finance, appear before the legislature to explain issues surrounding the workers' savings, as well as assure the country that people's savings are safe. The two ministers appeared today, though the Finance Minister, Honorable Matia Kasaija, requested the Speaker to excuse him to go and gather more information on the above issue, which she granted.
I was not informed to come prepared to this house. No, I don't want to come and talk to you when I'm not prepared. I was taught that way, that when you are talking to important people, you prepare yourself. Therefore,
honorable members, listen to the minister.
Therefore, with humility, I want Madam Speaker to be released to go and check what I want, what I will present, and whatever Parliament asks for me, I am ready to come tomorrow.
In her report, Minister Betty Amongi assured legislators that people's savings are very safe and the only issue in place are the investigations being carried out on the former MD of NSSF, Richard Byargaba.
Right Honorable Speaker and members' funds are safe. And I want to repeat that members' funds are safe and protected. And you have seen the statistics of the payment we have done in the last 2 months. While the board preferred to address the petition and allegations addressed to me and the authorities I outlined above to the relevant investigating authorities. Those that require a forensic audit were accordingly referred to the Auditor General, and those bordering on impropriety, abuse of office, or corruption to the Inspectorate of Government, with the request that their findings be shared within a period of 60 days.
However, the legislators informed Parliament that the minister's report is not satisfying because there is another letter already in the public domain where she cited issues of corruption, mismanagement of the fund, among other issues that they need her to explain.
The document raises very many serious issues that this Parliament and the savers with the NSSF must pick interest in, because the minister herself is showing how the NSSF is being mismanaged. And, Right Honourable Speaker, I expected the minister to come before this House to defend some of these positions, because she has said These constituted part of her meeting with the president. And she's claiming out of the meeting with the president, they reconsidered the appointment. She has just said that. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the minister, instead of taking us through how the fund is doing, the public has this document. The document is already in the public domain.
According to the MPs, Minister Betty Amongi ordered the managing director to step down because he refused to approve the 6 billion shillings, and she appointed his junior Mr. Ayota Patrick to replace him even after the Prime Minister had directed otherwise, meaning there was more to this issue.
When this 6 billion matter came up, that's when Dr. Byargaba was told that please set aside their petitions, their what. But when you again tell us that the fund was doing very well, because you showed it in your own report that in 2021 it was just in some few months raised 165 billion, and then in 1 month it is moving because the system is there. And also, Madam Speaker, there is the deputy. When I'm deputizing my chair, Honorable Babiko, when anything happens in the Committee of Presidential, we are liable, both of us.
Jointly,
we are liable. So what is so special that now you retain the deputy and then this one you say, God, can they all be set aside?
In the same regard, the MP for Workers, Honorable Rakajara, has requested that the Speaker creates a select committee to further investigate this issue because there are mafias who want to gain from stealing people's savings.
There are issues on the pension house. I'm told there are cracks whereby we have sunk a lot of money. Big time money, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want us to handle this issue carefully. There are mafias in town who are already testing this. There is a promise of building a minister's village in Bwebaja. They are all targeting that. And therefore, we need to be very, very, very careful. There will be lobbyists around. They will approach everybody. They want to be heard everywhere. They have been with bloggers in social media. Kindly, Right Honorable Speaker, offer leadership and see that these things are investigated by bodies and personalities that are serious, that can go deep.
Speaker Anita Monga sent a strong warning to those who think can steal from Ugandan workers and walk free, that the prisons await them, and so she announced the need for creating a select committee to furthermore investigate the National Social Security Fund.
I don't want to say it is caste money, but that money of workers. I grew up knowing that whoever goes for workers' money goes to prison. So many people are rotting in prison because of workers' money, and it is our responsibility as Parliament to restore hope in the public. And in restoration of that hope, we must make sure that there is good governance, the workers' money is safe, and ensure that the board is doing its work. And under Rule 190, I am referring this to a select committee, and we shall have very able people who can never be compromised.
Members who are going to be on this select committee are going to be announced on Monday by the Speaker herself. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Yeah, that's what is happening around there between the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development and the Minister of Finance. They're saying all the reports are not satisfying, but still, according to the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, the savings money or the savers' money is safe. I was amazed by the Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, saying that he was not ready for this very meeting, but that's our ministers sometimes, they're like that. Now let us get to another story here, getting away from the NSSF saga and the two ministries. Here I'm seeing on the 3-day official visit of the President Museveni to Abu Dhabi. President visited this area of the Arab Emirates and said, encourage those people to come over here in Uganda and start investing over here, since we have all the investment arenas or areas around Uganda here. Let us see what President Museveni had to talk to those people from the Arab Emirates. Let's have a look.
The United Arab Emirates Uganda Presidential Initiative on Investment informed participants that although Uganda's economy is growing at 6% per annum, the economy has a great potential to grow faster, stressing the need for value addition for agricultural products such as coffee, maize, and leather.
Add value to, don't just continue with the raw materials. Create an economy which is integrated vertically and also horizontally by adding value and creating interlinkages.
The remittances of Ugandans working in the United Arab Emirates has jumped from $50 million in 2018 to $1.5 billion today, while foreign direct investment rose from $600 million to $1.5 billion. To lure more investment and increase investor confidence, ministers promised the people in the United Arab Emirates more benefits for a better investment turnover.
As opposed to direct taxes. Let's focus on eliminating corruption out of our system. Let's give free land, which is an incentive that is given nowhere but in Uganda for development. Let the people bring money in Uganda, and we transform and build Uganda and build the private sector. Your Excellency, today we talk about us being among the top 10 best investment destinations in Africa.
Our colleagues and friends from the UAE who intend to invest in Uganda, I will tell you that you have not bet. This is one of the best choices you have made to invest in Uganda. Uganda is a country that once you have visited, then you don't want to leave Uganda. I must warn you this. So if you intend to come to Uganda, you'll visit Uganda and never leave Uganda. The opportunities, whether it be as a tourist, be as investors, in any form of residence, is so attractive that you'll make Uganda either your home or your second home.
With efforts to market Uganda's oil and gas, Jimmy Mugera expounds how resourceful Uganda is about to be in this industry.
Beyond manufacturing and commercial agriculture, opportunities to partner and invest in Uganda are available also in oil and energy. And I think, let me spend just a minute to entice the partners here that Uganda has found oil and gas and is going to produce 230,000 barrels a day. It's probably the best onshore project today in the world. Very, very low cost to find, but the opportunities that are going to come with it, both the direct, the indirect, and the induced opportunities are huge. It's a $15 billion investment. It is going to create jobs, and for almost all of you who stood up to speak here, there is a way you will connect the oil and gas.
The investment forum was concluded with signing of memorandum of understandings for tea value addition, as well as engagement of agro-processing, tourism and hospitality, real estate, aviation, banking, mining, health and education sectors. Runana Habwe, Smart 24 TV.
That's the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, at the United Arab Emirates, trying to talk to them. But this is the time they should come to Uganda and come and invest here. And now I can see here the UAE and the Presidential Initiative on Investment at Abu Dhabi, that's the capital city of United Arab Emirates, advised the attendees that with the economy of Uganda is now at the 68% annually, and there's a significant area for them to grow even faster. So this is all what we have to talk about, all of us. Investment, and I think what the President is doing is good to go. That's good to go. If you go in other countries trying to lobby for investment in Uganda. That's important. That's what any other president can do. And now let us speak the approval of the East African crude pipeline construction license. Yesterday, the Parliament of Uganda approved the license to construct the East African, or what we call the EACOP, here in Uganda. Our reporter Martha Nimsime was on top of this story and does have what she had to collect for us.
The Cabinet's approval of the construction license for the East African crude oil pipeline is a signal for development and turning point for the mineral development. With 296 kilometers in Uganda, the pipeline is anticipated to traverse 1,422.8 kilometers. The government anticipates that work on the construction project will begin in November 2023, when the necessary funds and building supplies will be available.
Decision 1 is that Cabinet approved the application for a license to construct the East African crude oil pipeline in Uganda. The East African crude oil pipeline runs for about 22.8 kilometers from Hoima up to Chongliani near the port of Tanzania. To be specific, the approval relates to 296 kilometers that are within the Ugandan territory, and that runs from Hoima up to the border in Mutukula, crossing about 171 villages and 10 districts.
The construction is anticipated to cost approximately $5 billion. Ministry of Finance and the government are making solid progress in collecting the funds. The pipeline will help the oil and gas industry achieve its aim and objectives more effectively.
It's approximated that the pipeline will cost about $5 billion. So if you calculate 40% of that being equity, then of the 15% is what government of Uganda is contributing. I think overhead it's in the region of $300 million. And Ministry of Finance, I think, has already availed about $200 million for the equity contribution of government. The rest of the 60%, which is the bigger part of the budget, is supposed to come from financials, and the discussions are ongoing. I think we are making good progress.
The East African crude oil pipeline stakeholders are mostly assisting the government in funding the actual construction, as constructive engineering and documentation are already underway, having reached 30%. Tanzania's government collaborated with Uganda in conjunction with Total Energies and Sinok. EACOP will enable Uganda to unleash the value of its own natural resources by fully recognizing its duties to both environmental protection, the people, land and communities that will be impacted by the project, particularly during the construction phase, which will give opportunities for the locals and create revenue.
When you look at the region, for example, Uganda has been very stable. There is goodwill, political will towards investors, and I think those are enough incentives.
The construction of the East African crude oil pipeline is to unlock opportunities for Uganda, provide employment, and expand the country's tax base. The pipeline route has also been designed to minimize environmental and social impacts, given its linear nature. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV.
Yeah, this is what Martha Nimsime had to collect for us. But more of the information coming here, it's like Uganda's oil and gas journey is tremendously growing at a greater heights, and Uganda will be the next hotspot of hydrocarbon discoveries in East Africa. So when it comes to oil and gas, Uganda is doing better, and the approval of these licenses, it really shows that we are taking a step in as far as this initiative is concerned. Now getting to another story, I see here Kapeka. In Kapeka district, it has got its first commercial bank that is meant for savings and investment. I saw the coordinator for
The chief coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, General Salim Saleh, revealed that the organization is promoting agriculture and has so far distributed over 2,152 agricultural processing facilities. These facilities are to be used to give people the financial freedom to work and avoid borrowing.
Right now, under under different projects, under SCDP, under CAIP, under NUSAF, under NADS. We have distributed at least 2,152 agriculture processing facilities. But now, more importantly, these are the ones which were supported by the government.
Given that agriculture supports Uganda's economy and the majority of its rural dwellers, it is logical to invest in it in order to combat rising poverty, particularly among rural residents. However, financial institutions have been reluctant to extending services, thus hindering trade. At the inaugural, Diamond Trust Bank Uganda's managing director, Vagiz Thambi, pledged that the bank would continue to push the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy and close the gap in the import substitution strategy.
What we see today is only beginning with 19 industries, and a large number of industries, about 40 are coming up in different sectors to bridge the gap between imports to Uganda and exports from Uganda, and to make Buy Uganda, Build Uganda theme of the government a reality. Why investors?
According to Hannington Waswa, the Bank of Uganda's Director of Commercial Banking, barely 4% of Ugandans save, particularly in rural areas, preventing many from investing. Because of this, financial institutions have been set up in rural regions to encourage residents to adopt to a saving culture. This will not only strengthen the saving culture, but will also stimulate commercial agriculture, which is a ticket out of poverty.
Saving. In Uganda right now, the saving rate is less than 4%. If you don't save, you don't have money to invest. That is why countries like Uganda end up borrowing money from outside to be able to finance investments. Yet, us as Ugandans, we have money. If we improved our saving rate, the amount that government borrows out to come and invest in infrastructure and other projects that government undertakes would definitely come down, and the returns would actually come to us. Because when you go to any financial institution and you say you want to save, they will pay you interest on your savings. So for me, the starting point is savings. Then after savings is borrowing.
The first commercial bank in Kapeka is positioned to strengthen its relationship with the industrial parks manufacturers, factory workers, residents, and Kapeka Town's business community, as well as display a long-held goal to establish a sustainable business for the residents. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV.
Yeah, that story was coming in from Kapeka, where it was receiving its ever in history the first commercial bank that is going to help them in savings and investment. Now we'll be going in for a short commercial break, and when we come back, more of the stories will be coming up on your way. This is Business Edition.
Smart 24, driving business.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kabote Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kabote deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kabote Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
The best things in life are the ones that turn out better than we plan. bonds that turn out stronger than you imagined. Surprises that turn out even more surprising. Festivities that turn out merrier. Tukua Decor this festive season. Renew your subscription and we'll upgrade you to a higher package for free. GOTV Uganda. Love it.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
Why?
Yamunang, Auntie, your TV encolera.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you are. Download the GOTV Channels app from your app store and enjoy 30 days of free streaming with MTN.
GOTV Channels.
Smart 24, driving business.
Let's then rush to Kabale district where the tenants from the Kabale Central Market protested over what they called poor allocation of lockups in the Kabale Central Market. I saw the protesters are accusing the authorities of unclear justifications or just giving out lockups without proper procedures. Let's see what happened from there.
The Kabale Municipal Authorities and Kabale Central Market tenants are involved in a new controversy. According to them, Kabale Municipality authorities are allocating lockups to certain people who have never worked in the market before, excluding strategically locked up lockups from raffle draws, among other things, which raises concern for them if they will receive lockups for rent later. In response, they have mobilized urgently and expressed their dissatisfaction, calling for a meeting with the authorities to present their issues.
We have found out that the best houses in this market were not selected. We have also learned of agents asking for bribes in order to allocate people.
Evidence yamazina gomuntu ne number naroka pakibamu.
I have evidence of the name and number of a person who owns a lockup, yet they don't work in the market. My question is, why are they allocating lockups wrongly?
The tenants claim that in addition to the market project's delayed completion, they also suffered significant losses when moving to the Chigongo Police Barracks Market, which was gazetted, and yet during relocation, stalls are given to strangers.
Guidelines. Ministry came here and gave us guidelines. However, they are not following up on them. We have spent over 20 years here, so we allowed the market to be demolished. However, we are facing these losses, yet you bringing other people to occupy the market.
In reply, the mayor of Kabale Municipality stated that the Markets Committee and the Ministry of Local Government Authorities had agreed to give out double or triple in one lockups to the owners who had more than one lockup earlier.
I have been openly dealing with tenants. However, there are some false accusations that I'm accepting bribes, and these should stop.
Sentalo adds that he has been bouncing the vendors who have attempted to bribe him for lockup allocations, assuring the tenants who were previously in the old market and shifted to Chigongi Barracks Market that will be considered to take on lockups because they don't have where to go.
We are trying to give all tenants lockups, even those with more than 3 lockups. should also share with others.
In the same urgent meeting, the Assistant Programs Officer in charge of Community Development in the Ministry of Local Government, Prosito Hirire, was forced to highlight the ministry guidelines on the relocation of vendors, where she also used the platform to ask the tenants to be patient for they will get the lockups to use. Kabale Central Market construction is causing more trouble than it was planned to. It is still unclear whether all the sellers will be able to secure stalls given the suspected corruption's escalating levels. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Now, coming out from that, I can see the central market in Kabale. A lot happened there, and they were like, this is not proper, just giving out lockups or lockups in not in a clear way, and that's not very proper. And if it is happening also here in Kampala, I think this is the time we should stop all this, and the authorities should make sure all these things are ironed out. And now coming into another story here, I saw the UNBS, that Uganda National Bureau of Standards, lamenting over what they called little budget or poor funding coming over them, or little funding coming to them to expedite their jobs. And now, according to the Bureau in charge of enforcing standards, in charge of enforcing product standards before they reach the market, complaining about the little budget that has come over them, and this has limited the way of doing their work. Remember, we've been having the budget framework paper, where most of the entities, government MDs, getting money or being allocated funds to do their jobs. And now the Uganda National Bureau of Standards are saying the money that was allocated to them is not that enough to make sure that they run their own operations. I visited Dr. Livingstone, or Mr. Livingstone Iburu, that's the executive director at UNBS, who had to tell us most of the things that are affecting the way they do their work. Let's have a look at this very story. The Ugandan market is still overwhelmed with substandard products. The Ugandan market is still overwhelmed with substandard products. A report from the Uganda National Bureau of Standards indicated that 54% of the both imported and domestic produced products are substandard as of 2017, and up to date the status quo has remained. Dr. David Livingstone, the Executive Director, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and Honorable Mwine Mpaka, the Chairperson, Parliamentary Committee on Trade, attributes the failure to limited resources to check the system.
So there has been the issue of the budget. What does UNBS need to be able to fulfill its mandate? A UNBS budget has been reducing over time, despite the increase in the need for UNBS to contribute to the protection of the citizens and to contribute to market access of our products to international markets.
Well, we have a big challenge with UNBS because they lack resources. First of all, we have only one lab, and it's found in Kampala. This means if you are to test a product at the border, you'd have to drive it all the way to Kampala, which would take about 1 day. Test it, take it back to the border, it will take about 4 days. So we need regional laboratories. On top of that, we are understaffed.
Recently, the civil society organizations urged the government to prioritize staff recruitment in a phased approach in order to improve inspection, supervision, and the training of the business community on standards compliance, which Dr. Livingstone confirmed.
A part of the money we want is to recruit staff. As we are aware, we have a number of porous borders where actually substandard products pass. We need to close those porous borders by putting staff there. On the market, we need to make sure that we are on the market to ensure that every product that does not meet the safety requirements is removed from the market.
On top of that, we are understaffed. The scientists we have are not present in all the regions. You saw what happened in Arua the other day when someone made alcohol without certification and people died. So we are understaffed. Even the money to transport even our scientists to go to the field is not available.
Dr. Livingstone repeated that they phased out some of the fees that had previously been imposed on enterprises seeking to satisfy their goods.
UNBS has reduced its cost structure for certification over time in consideration that our role is not money-making but to promote compliance to standards. So the private sector is aware of our intervention of reducing the cost of certification. We have also offered up to 600 free permits to make sure that these micro small enterprises who are struggling to get money for certification are given a UNBS quality mark to be able to put the product on the market, make money so that going forward they are able to sustain the what? Payment of our quality.
According to the auditor's report, 2021, out of the approved staff structure of 666 positions, the Bureau had only filed 439, leaving a staffing gap of 227. As a result, there was a staff presence at only 27 out of 170 border entry points. Hence, a risk of substandard products entering the country through border points where the Bureau staff is not present. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV. Yeah, that's what is happening at Uganda Bureau of Standards, trying to make their own lamentations that this is the time they should get enough money to carry out or to enforce the product standards. Remember, this is the body, or this is the bureau that certifies all the products that are made here to make sure that they reach at the international market. I visited all the laboratories. I see there's a lot of money needed over there, but still, though they have some, but still they're saying too much is still needed, and that's according to Dr. Livingstone. I normally call him Dr. Livingstone, but it's Mr. Livingstone, the Executive Director of Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Now we're getting to another story here. I saw the members of Parliament lashing out at other legislators of undermining the Parliament rules and regulations. Sometimes the budget cuts have been made without the consent of Parliament. I saw Honorable Gonzaga and some other MPs saying that this is the time MPs and other members of Parliament start respecting the rules of Parliament. And this happened over the weekend. Let's see what happened over there once again with Sam Hanifa.
While presenting their budget framework document in the Ministry of Education, accompanied by the State Minister for Education and Sports, Peter Wang was asked to explain why they did not bring the many commissioners in this ministry with line ministers, and the committee had proposed sending them away until the situation is resolved.
We cannot proceed with this meeting if it is with your wise ruling. We don't have the permanent secretary substantive. She's represented. Then Mr. Ramadan Go confirmed coming here, and the issues we are handling are pertinent. And I don't want to disorganize the Honorable Minister present, because we have the three ministers in that ministry. Honorable Mingo is not here. The Honorable Kaduchi is not around. I know Honorable Gwang very well. Now, he's beginning to suffer.
The legislators later on accepted to go on with the meeting after the arrival of the Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija, though a couple of them were still demanding that the Cabinet Minister for Education appears.
No unofficial communication why the Minister of Education by the names of Janet Carterham Seven, not the First Lady, because that's another portfolio of our own, why they're not appearing. We have held several meetings since we began this Parliament. She has not appeared before this committee.
She has never appeared here. The only attempt we had a meeting with the minister was, I think, in Ikololo. What is wrong with the spaces in Parliament so that the minister cannot be here with us? Are we infected with COVID?
Legislators have urged the government to stop undermining parliamentary choices about funding for the Ministry of Education, since funds are allocated and then reduced without legislators' knowledge.
You go to the ministry and cut the money without even coming back to Parliament. So that is undermining Parliament, which you are a member of Parliament. I would request, Minister, sir, that if there is any spending or any cutting outside what Parliament has appropriated, come back to Parliament so that we move as a team. So if the decision is being taken by either you or the President, I request you that your actions, you're undermining Parliament of Uganda.
In his response to the committee, Minister Kasaija informed the MPs that government follows a cash-based system and that occasionally both revenues and borrowing don't match expectations, which has impacted on the sector's budgets in addition to the effects of pandemics and epidemics.
Is what we call a cash flow. You could have a budget and the Minister of Finance will fail to give you all that money. Why? Because the inflow of revenues including borrowing, may not permit that.
On the other hand, legislators have recommended the government to find a solution because they are tired of government informing them about instances of not having money, while major corporations receive tax breaks that could be put to greater use.
Know that as a government, we have chosen to give tax holidays to so-called big investors and particularly foreign investors. Isn't it prudent that at this point we can review that and see that we can have a leverage from them?
The Education Committee will submit its report to the Budget Committee on the 19th of this month. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Yeah, those are the members of parliament trying to fight for the rules and regulations in the parliament of Uganda, trying to say that most of the people, most of the legislators are undermining the rules and regulations of the parliament of Uganda. That was kind of political and something like that. But now we'll be going in for a short commercial break, and when I come back, more of the stories will be coming up. Anyway, stay around. This is the business edition. My name is Pedison Mumbe.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from that commercial break. I appreciate you for still staying on Smart 24 TV, especially on this program, the Business Edition. Now we are going through at the Minister of ICT, through the government of Uganda, trying to implement the BPO. The BPO, that's the business processing outsourcing policy that has not been around. And this is going to prepare Ugandans to get jobs, not only domestically, but also internationally. And the Ministry of ICT has also impact on this. I saw Sarah Amina Zawedi, that's the PS from the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, trying to make highlights that if this policy is impacted on or it is implemented here, it will make sure that all the youth in Uganda here get jobs, not abroad, but also domestically here. Let's have a look at this very story that I did.
Guidance has held the national consultation for the National Business Process Outsourcing Policy, BPO. Amina Zawedi, the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, asserts that BPO policy will give Ugandan youth employable skills for both domestic and foreign jobs.
The challenge we have as Uganda is youth unemployment. So this policy is one of those avenues that is going to help us create an environment where when somebody comes into this country to employ maybe about 30 youths, to do maybe accounting jobs or to do telemedicine or to do whatever profession, because all these professions can be done online. India is doing it, Philippines is doing it, we have Nigeria, Kenya is also doing it, South Africa, so we can also do it as a country. However, we were lacking a policy to help us do this. Why do I say that? Because when when a company comes from abroad to employ people here, they want to know what is protecting me as a company. Also, us as government want to know how are our youths being protected. We don't want to go into the challenges that we are facing currently as a country when we take youths are being taken to the Middle East to do the casual jobs.
According to Nzawedi, the solutions they have for the youth is to give them employment chances through working online and by building a channel in which ecosystem and an environment in which this could happen. I questioned her about the availability of working online in Uganda given the high price of internet access.
we as government, we are conversant and aware of the high costs of internet, but we are doing all measures, engaging with the telecom companies, also government itself extending the backbone and connectivity of internet all over the country. So eventually the costs will go down, but we cannot say that let us first wait for the cost to go down for us to prepare for the business process outsourcing to thrive. We are working on it, well mindful of the costs, but they will go up. But currently, those entities or establishments that are doing business process outsourcing, we are connecting to them internet and giving them at a subsidized cost.
You ask, they say internet, is high. We can't afford. So we are working with UCC and the providers to see that internet, come 2023, which we are in now, comes down. People can afford. Somebody in Arua does not have to come to Kampala for employment. He stays in Arua, he's skilled there. We establish a skilling center there, specific for certain jobs, specific so that people stay where they are and they work.
There are obstacles to implementing the national business process outsourcing policy, such as the high cost of obtaining financing and the constrained short-term financial ability to raise both staffing levels and seat capacity.
The BPO has been in the country for a number of years. We have had a number of achievements. We have also had a number of challenges. And key among the challenges is lack of access to finances. Most of the BPO companies, in a way, are small and medium enterprises, and they are not able to access capital for investment because of the high interest costs. So we think by having a policy like the national BPO policy, we should be able to attract funding for them.
But I would say the most challenging or the most important thing for us to note is the appreciation for BPO. Once people can appreciate what BPO is and the magnitude of impact that it can have, then we are good to go. But most of these organizations or companies face problems such as space. They don't have where to set up shop, or if they have where to set up shop, it's quite expensive.
The government believes that BPO will not only create jobs, but also boost the economy by increasing foreign investment and encouraging businesses to expand their operations in Uganda. It will also provide training and support for Ugandan professionals to ensure that they meet the standards required for international outsourcing. That's the story coming in from the Minister of ICT and National Guidance about BPO. BPO is business process outsourcing policy that they are trying to work on. And according to them, this is going to equip Ugandan youngsters with employable skills for jobs both domestically and abroad. However, they are still constrained by the cost of accessing capital. But let me hope that this will be worked upon. Now getting into another story here, we are seeing the road to zero unemployment. That's also the same way the battle against unemployment, and this has been reopened by the national leaders. That's the International Economic Forum, trying to make sure that unemployment is put at a zero level, not only in Africa, but even other Africans. Martha Nimsima was on top of this story, and let's have a look at what she had to collect for us.
According to the World Economic Forum, low and middle-income nations are still struggling with unemployment, having been the ones most negatively impacted by the pandemic. However, there is hope that they will be able to recover. Globally, countries are embracing the reskilling effort in order to reconfigure value trends and increase domestic prospects, such as African Continental Free Trade Zone.
It is making the kinds of investments in new technologies, in digital upskilling, in sustainable green growth. Because what we've found is that, one, the green growth issue is great, everybody's all for it, but it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword because while we are building a whole new generation of vehicles, electric vehicles and so on, we're pulling it from a continent and a country that is in serious trouble in terms of $1.90, if that much, per day for work.
To address the rampant unemployment, developing nations are becoming familiar with digital investments. This entails more time in developing and coming up with fresh innovations that are comparable to economic engines of the nation.
The issue is the digital divide. The digital divide, digitalization has changed completely how the working world looks. And we've seen that in the pandemic. You know, in 2 years, we've leaped 10. So while that has been great, and it's allowed for, you know, e-commerce to thrive, and it's allowed for people to work from home, and there are 35% of the developing world connected, 35%. And in Africa, it's 18%. So if we're going to talk about a digital world and digital explosion, we also have to ensure that the connectivity is actually there. Because we can't talk about a digital growth and digital explosion if there's no connectivity. So that's another area that's going to be critical in terms of investment.
Emerging technologies and transitions will drive the world to a zero unemployment economy. As the world enters a global recession, third world developing countries are encouraged to prioritize domestic resources over overseas opportunities.
Our projection for 2023 is a global increase, a global growth of employment by 1%, which is quite very low. And interesting enough, you also have the combining effect in Africa and the Middle East. We could pick up to 3% in terms of employment growth. However, when you take into account the population growth and the youth bulge, and therefore the net effect remain in that 1 or even below 1%. Critical point, and yesterday there had been some session on reskillings. What we're also noticing is the big gap between the low-skilled jobs and the high-end skilled job, which is also quite very crucial.
Utilizing skill-building initiatives should be a fundamental strategy for governments fighting unemployment, since it gives opportunities to people, especially young people, who make up the majority of the population in most developing countries. The education system should be revamped to provide people with creative skills at a young age. The future of having a system of productive employment is in our hands, since we have access to all resources, particularly those of the growing economies, which have access to all the useful resources like minerals, sufficient labor, and adequate international platforms to finance their activities. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV.
Thank you, Martha Nimsime, for that very story. And now we are coming to the end of our business bulletin. Those have been the stories that made the headlines in our weekly bulletin. We also have all the social media platforms where you can find Smart 24 TV. You can find us on Twitter, that's Smart 24 TV Official, on YouTube, Smart 24 TV Live, and other platforms, Instagram. You can as well follow me on my Twitter handle, that's @Pedison Mumbere. I want to recommend you, I want to thank you for being a good view of Smart 24 TV, especially this very program. Let's meet again next Sunday.